Welcome to Yoga Intermissions. Try this at home. We are live broadcasting from Vermont, Salt and Sand Studios. My name is Karen. It is great to have you here. We got all the accoutrement necessary. Thank you for checking on AV. We are good to go. If you prefer props, it's not required today, but sometimes it can be helpful to have a block or blocks. You can also use plastic food containers with lids. You could use a cushion, this lovely red one called Nancy. And today is blocking and tackling. Coming back to some of the basics. Breath work, mindset, mindfulness, and Crescent Warrior or High Lunge, Warrior One, and Pyramid Pose, aka Tadasana. Yes, it feels a little chilly in Vermont today. I think we're starting to hit autumn. We're going to go ahead and find a comfortable seat. You might notice today, sneakers, again, still working on that foot, but is getting much, much better. And as we know, most important in yoga is safety. Safety before whatever challenges we want to set up for ourselves. So we're actually going to start with breath work. They don't always come in this order, but in our 50-minute approach, we'll start with breath work, move to mindset. Mindfulness will be throughout, and from mindset, we'll move into our asanas or postures or poses, as some might call them. So starting with breath work, we're going to take the first two fingers of the right hand. I'm not mirroring you right now. And right between and above the eyebrows. The right thumb rests on the right nostril and the ring finger rests on the left nostril. You can close your eyes if you like, not required. You can also just downcast the eyes. We're going to block the right nostril and breathe in through the left. Pause at the top. See if you can drop your shoulders a little bit and then block the left nostril so both nostrils are blocked. Release the right and breathe out. Block the right, open up the left. Inhale left. Block left. Release right, breathe out. Block right again. Inhale left. Final one on this side. Block left. Pause for a moment. Open up the right, breathe out. Block both nostrils. Open the right, breathe in right. Block both. Release left, breathe out. Block left. Inhale right. Block both. Open up left, exhale. Another time, left gets blocked, right opens up, inhale. Block both, release left, exhale. Block both. Release the hand to the lap, breathe in through the whole nose. A little pause at the top, see if you can drop the shoulders away from the ears. Draw the belly in and the pelvis forward. Exhale through the nose. A pause at the bottom. Breathe in. Retain. Breathe out through the nose. Hold. Inhale. Pause. Breathe out through the nose. Pause. Inhale through the nose again. Slight retention, then drop your jaw, sigh it all the way. Two more of those. Ah. Ah. A natural breath. And moving into some mindfulness here, noticing what that might have done for you. My sinuses are definitely clearer. I feel a little more open in the area of the chest and the lungs. My shoulders feel a little looser, my neck a little looser, the spine a little taller, which frankly I could use. At 5'1", it would be helpful to get maybe another quarter of an inch there going. My hands can rest wherever it feels fine for you. For some of us, that means the palms are down, but in an ideal world, in our meditative position, the palms would be facing up, sort of a receiving gesture. That helps with the mindset as well. So take a moment now to consider an intention for the practice without really setting an expectation or an objective, as in this is something I need to achieve, but rather, how do I intend to move through this practice? What am I holding space for? What behavior might be something I'm interested in aspiring to? So maybe that is something like staying with the breath or guiding back to the practice when the mind wanders, because it does. Or it could be a sense of gratefulness or compassion for the body. So establish that intention, and without analysis or opinion or judgment or expectation, we'll celebrate that. Imagining that the chant of Om, or if you're not chanting, maybe just the breath out the mouth, is casting around us this wonderful intention that we have set. So we'll draw the palms together at the heart, press the thumb knuckles into the heart, and make sure the spine is a little extended. Sitting bones and the tailbone are like a tripod connecting us to the earth, really grounded. And then space, even outside our Milky Way, calls us, creating some space in the spine and some air in the breath and the head. Makes us a little taller. So with our intention in mind, we'll take another cleansing breath, nice and audible on the exhale. And then after the second inhale, we'll Om, or imagine Om is riding out on our breath silently. Cleansing breath, deep inhale. Complete exhale at the mouth. Long breath in. We'll start our movement mindfully going into a child's pose. It's a great way to start the physical practice, as it opens up the hips a bit more than your seated posture and gives you an opportunity to combine the breath work, mindfulness, mindset, and posture without a lot of movement. Imagining that the breath can lengthen the spine even more, maybe move into the hips to open things up a little bit more. And draw the sitting bones toward the heels. Big toes are touching, knees are nice and wide. Head is resting on something. Adjusting as need be to find a little steady state, a little comfort. observant of the breath and how it moves and encourages the body, what it's cultivating in terms of the physical form, openness. And maybe once you've taken a few breaths here, return to your intention. A good way to remind ourselves of intention is to rock the head left and right, almost as if you could bring that intention right into your gray matter, right into your third eye, pressed up behind the forehead, where it can remain throughout the practice. And at any time, the eyes might gaze upward at that intention. We'll pause here from rocking the head and bring the palms together so the pinky fingers are on the earth. We're going to open up the armpits and the shoulders a bit more by bending the elbows to bring the fingertips behind the neck or between the shoulder blades. One at a time, the elbows walk forward, creating extra length along the torso, sides, front, and back. The belly is not tightly drawn in, but is slightly active so that you can tuck your tailbone. We bring the hands to the ground and come into a tabletop. And just that amount of breath gave me enough warmth to remove a layer, which I might need back on my body at the end of class. Apologies for a little frog in my throat. In table, fingers are wide. Tops of the feet are on the earth, and rather than dropping the belly down or collapsing into the shoulders, the navel moves toward the spine, and we create a little real estate between the shoulders, powering this up. The right leg floats behind, but the top of the foot stays on the earth. See how long you can get that right leg while squaring your hips, and then press the shoelace side of the foot into the earth. Squeeze the glutes on the right side and the hamstrings. And when you're ready, keeping the glutes and the hamstrings powered up, float the right leg up off the earth. Then go ahead and point the toes toward the earth. On a breath out, draw the knee to the nose. Pause there. Press the floor away, scoop the belly in. Drop your head. Inhale, extend the leg again. The heel reaches behind you. And then bend that right knee like you're stepping on the stars. Keep your hips squared and use the glutes and the hammies to bounce lightly that leg up and down. So foot is as flat as you can get it. On an exhale, knee above the right elbow. It might tap, it might not. Inhale, extend the leg once more. And bring the knee to the mat. Might take some hip circles as a little interstitial. And being sure to take that in the opposite direction. Continuing to warm up the body. Return to tabletop. Even poses or postures without movement can warm up the core because we're using the breath and engaging the core. This time, left leg reaches long, top of the foot on the earth. Get it as long as you can. Square your hips up. Keep the belly strong. And press. It's hard to tell that I'm pressing the top of the foot into the earth due to all of the wrapping of my foot, but that's what we're doing. Squeeze glutes. Squeeze hammies. Float the leg upward. Keep the hips square, point the toes downward. We're powered up here. Belly's helping out, knee to nose. Press that floor away. Inhale, extend the leg. Bend the knee like you're stepping on the clouds, and then tap those clouds with the ball and the heel of the foot, using the glutes and hammies to lift and release, lift and release, lift and release. Exhale, knee above the elbow. Inhale, stretch out again. and the knee to the earth. Sit back on your heels. Bring the heels of the hands to the hip creases. We're going to really use the heels of the hands, so maybe you make light fists with the fingers. On an exhale, heels of the hands move down the thighs toward the knees, belly scoops in, spine rounds, head drops like a seated cat. Inhale for the cow shape, heels of the hands draw back toward the hip creases. We lift the torso, lift the heart, squeeze the shoulder blades, maybe drop the head back. And take 2 more rounds of this seated cat-cow. And we pause for a neutral spine. I'm going to take a little swingy kind of twist, left and right. Like we're just jauntily moving through the waves on a beach, draping our fingers in the water, and swinging them around us to feel that beautiful refreshment. Next time you come through center, come back to table. Walk your hands forward a couple of inches, tuck the toes under. And we're not going to go straight to downward dog. Instead, we're going to use the belly a lot to lift the knees off the mat and then press the sitting bones toward the heels, starting to find that long spine. Powering up the thighs, we then slowly breathe out, heels toward the earth for downward dog. If you need to adjust the length of your dog, do so. Remembering that most of us tend to take too short of a downward dog, more dachshund than shepherd. Pedaling into the knees can feel really good. We make sure there's enough space between the feet to give us purchase. On an inhale, slowly peel forward to your plank. We're measuring out our downward dog. Mine is a little bit short. The wrist should be directly under the shoulders. We're really powered up in the belly. Exhale straight to down dog again. Mindful. Breathing. Mindset. Rise to the tiptoes, bend the knees a lot, and walk toward the hands, working your way to a forward fold of any sort, but you might find a ragdoll suits really nicely at the beginning of practice. Hands release to the earth. We glide the fingers to the shins for a half lift, long spine. Knees can remain bent. Breathe out for forward fold and unravel slowly to standing. We'll stop in Tadasana. It's like a little bus stop. Ding, ding. Stop in Tadasana. Shoulders back. Palms forward. Joints all stacked. Pelvis in and up. Lift the arms overhead. Take a hold of the right wrist with the left fingertips and give it a tug. Pretend you're not going to tilt. Get tall. Exhale now. Tilt over to the left, but thinking about this, bringing your mindset toward an opening on the right side of the body rather than a squishing of the left side. Heart reaches to the sky. We breathe. Feeling the right rib cage expand all the way around the body. We rise up, floating the fingers toward the sky. Maybe they twinkle to the stars. Switch grasp, a tug of the left wrist. Now tilt to the right. Inhale, hands release toward the sky. Exhale, we'll come into a modified chair pose. Sweep the arms down and then behind you so the palms face down. Energy into your heels, draw the belly in. See if you can reach back a little bit more to open up the collarbones. Inhale, sweep up to standing. Exhale, chair pose, arms behind you again. Open up, squeeze the thighs toward each other, tuck the tailbone, inhale, sweep the arms high, stand up. One more time, sweeping into our sort of skier-ish chair pose, Utkatasana. And we'll intertwine or interlace the fingers behind us, opening up the collarbones a little bit more. Activate your hamstrings. Big breath in. Breathe out for a fold over your legs. Maybe the hands float from the body. Nod the head, shake the head. Exhale, hands release. A halfway lift again. Ardha Uttanasana, belly strong. Exhale, forward fold. Rise to standing. This time, Samastihi, hands together at your heart. We'll take 3 breaths here, imagining that our ability to ground to the earth, to connect our roots into the substrate, allows us to stand even taller. Like the energy from the earth is rising up, lifting the arches of the feet, moving up the inseam to the hips, and stacking the shoulders over the hips, and allowing for that neck to be long and strong. Inhale, arms sweep high. Exhale, forward fold. Ardha Uttanasana, half lift. And a fold. The left foot steps way to the back of the mat for a runner's lunge. Take your time. Really stretch that leg out behind you. And situate yourself here. Maybe you need blocks under your fingertips. I'm going to heel toe my right foot out to the right a bit. It's as if the belly energy is peeling away from the right thigh. The left kneecap moving toward the left thigh. And the shoulders moving toward the hips. So this is a foundational posture for Crescent Warrior. We're going to take a twist in it. Keeping the left fingertips down under your shoulder, the right arm will float high. And if the shoulder's kind of cranky like mine is, maybe the heel of the right hand comes to the low back. Each breath in, spine gets long. We reach from the left heel all the way to the crown of the head. In each breath out, we twist, navel around the spine. On an exhale, both hands frame your front foot. Step your left foot up to meet your right. Inhale, float to standing. Exhale, hands to your heart, Samastihi. Hands drop by your sides. Breathe in, lift. Breathe out, a fold over your legs. Half lift. Hands plant. Right foot steps way to the back of the mat. Take your time. Hands might creep backward. Maybe the left foot moves out to the left. And here again, we power things up. Right fingertips down under the shoulder, left arm high. Continue to press into the big toe mound of the left foot. Exhale, left hand to the earth. Back foot steps up to meet the front. Chair pose, Utkatasana. I know that wasn't in the list of the description. It is my favorite pose. Hands draw toward the heart. Stay balanced on the right foot in your chair pose and lift the left foot off the mat. The knees drawing toward the heart. We're going to shift the heart forward and the left foot back and step back into our runner's lunge. Adjust if need be. And then hover the belly over the right thigh, hands by your sides, palms face down. Really long and strong. Then rise up for your Crescent Warrior high lunge. Shoulders over the hips, powered up in the back leg. But we really activate the left glutes to draw the tailbone down, the pelvis forward. Frame your front foot with your hands. Lengthen your front leg and hop up so the left leg comes high. Draw the knee to your nose and step the foot back down to the mat. Float all the way to standing. Lots of work on that right thigh. Exhale, hands to your heart. We're going to move back into chair pose, Utkatasana, with the hands at your heart. Leave the weight in the left foot as you float the right knee toward your heart. Heart shifts forward, right leg shifts back. Finding our way back into runner's lunge, taking the time to set it up. Now here's the hard part. On side 2, most of the time, not always, we don't always remember, we know where we're going. So rather than anticipate that, find yourself fully in this posture. Now hover over the thigh, hands by your sides. Powered up with wide collarbones. And then rise up, Crescent Warrior. Hands frame your front foot and walk forward a little bit so you can float the right leg off the ground for a standing split. Knee draws to your nose and foot meets foot. Rise back up to standing. Hands to your heart. Now, if we were on any other video medium, not on YouTube, I'd say, any questions on Crescent Warrior? So setting the foundation is really important. We're going to do the same thing for Warrior 1 from the front of the mat and for Otanasana pyramid pose. So bring the feet parallel to the mat, the outer edges, a little space between the feet. Shift weight into the right foot, just like we did in our chair, and lift the left knee. Gently step that left leg back. A Warrior 1 stance. You're going to bend the front knee, bring the whole left foot to the earth so that the toes are pointing to the upper left corner of your mat. The idea is not for the hips to be torquing to the left, but as much as possible parallel to the front of the mat. Difficult for some, sometimes, and difficult for some all of the time. Never say never. So you can help that out by making your stance wider left to right. Really want to draw the back kneecap up toward the left quad and find a nice bend in your front leg. So I need a little bit more distance front to back as well. Here is the powered up, tailbone tucked, hamstring and glute active, pressing into the heel of the back foot, using the whole front foot. And then depending on how shoulders and chest, etc. feel, we work our way into the back bend. Arms can be overhead. They can be in a cactus shape. They could also be by your sides, which I find creates this beautiful, almost like a flagpole lift of the heart. We're going to move right into part of Otanasana from Warrior 1, which is a common transition, bringing the hands to the hips. we press the front leg long. That tends to shift the weight into the back foot. We're going to shift the back foot just a little bit up the mat and see if we can still keep the hips square. Utilize that whole back foot. Double check left toes pointing to the upper left corner of your mat. And take your fingers, jam them into your hip creases. You may not jam. Imagine before we do any folding that the right heel is drawing the front of the mat backward. And we're going to fold halfway down with a strong belly. We're not trying to send the heart toward the right shin, but rather reach the heart forward and down without torquing the torso, Peter torquing the torso. So keeping as flat a back as possible. I'm actually going to grab my blocks and bring them at half height. And then we fold all the way down. If that feels okay, over the right leg. What tends to happen is all the weight ends up in the right leg and we start to stress the hamstring. Or maybe it all moves into the right leg and right foot. We start to torque the left hip. So we're going to shift into the heel of the front foot. Send some weight into the heel of the back foot. Drop your head. Last week we did revolved Otanasana. You're welcome to play around with that as well, which is the left hand stays on your block or the mat, and the heel of the right hand comes to the low back. If you want to practice revolve just for even a moment to explore it, you'll lift halfway up as much as possible, long spine, and then twist to the right. You might not go very far. You're going to recheck with mindfulness, observing where the weight is in your feet. You want equilibrium. That might mean really working into the heel of the front foot. But if you like to hang out in pyramid pose itself, you'll drop that right hand and come back to your full fold. The back foot steps up to meet the front. And we float back to standing. Well, let's draw into cactus shape arms. We need to do a little bit of work in the upper body with eagle arms. Right elbow underneath left. Go ahead and lift the elbows shoulder height or higher. Float the hands away from the face. Draw that belly in and up. And if you like, we'll twist over to the left. Keeping your hips square. Return front and center. Sweep the arms high overhead. Press the palms together there. And once again, like we did when we were face down, elbows bend, fingertips come to the nape of the neck or between the shoulder blades. We get really long in the torso. Rather than jutting the ribs outward, we tuck them toward the hips. Cactus arms. Eagle arms opposite way, left under right. Peeling the shoulder blades away from the muscles underneath. Breath in. Exhale for a twist over to the right. Return front and center. Lift the arms. And then draw the hands to your hips. This time, we're going to move into Warrior One with the right foot behind us. So the shift of the weight is into the left foot. And we lift the right knee. Step back, finding your Warrior One stance. And there is no perfect, but you might not get to where you need to be at your first step. So for me, I need to move my left foot out to the left and get a little bit more front to back. What tends to happen is the belly sinks forward and we drop all the effort into the low back. That's why we want to use the right glutes and the hamstrings and press the pelvis forward. The pelvis is like a bowl. And oftentimes, for me, I have a little bit of lordosis, extra arch in the low back, which means that the bowl is tipped forward. So if the bowl were filled with liquid, it would spill out the front. We also don't want to do the opposite and tilt the back of the bowl down so far that the liquid spills out the back. We're looking for even Steven to protect that low spine. And yes, I realize I'm talking through Warrior One. Hands by your side, lift the heart. Super strong in the back heel, which will help activate the glutes and the hamstrings. And then play with it. Maybe you have a little bit more room to move the front foot forward and sink a little deeper into your front knee, even as the hips remain square to the front of your mat. But ultimately, Crescent Warrior and your Warrior One are heart openers. So find a way to let that heart fly with the birds up into the clouds. Hands to your hips, extend your front foot. See where the balance of the weight is. Shorten your stance a bit. And ensure that the hips are as much as possible square to the front of the mat. A breath in. Fingertips into the hip creases. Exhale, fold down. See if you can use the fingertips to help press the left hip back and feel the front of the right hip facing forward. And then maybe a full fold over your front leg. I'm a little tighter on this side. So really working the left heel backward as if it's drawing the front of the mat toward the back. If you'd like revolved, heel of the left hand to the low back. Lift halfway up, long spine, exhale, twist. Full Otanasana, pyramid pose, folding all the way over the leg. The head is super heavy. We're going to bring the hands back to the mat and step into a short downward dog. So the feet don't move that far front to back, but the left foot comes back and meets the right. Draw the belly in, really press the heels toward the earth, and then walk into your full downward dog. Drop the knees to the earth. Come to kneeling. I find it best for camel or modified camel, which is what we're about to go into, that the toes are untucked. I find that to be steadier. A little space between the feet. Heels of the hands to the low back. Press the fleshy part below the hands and the fingers downward. Shift the pelvis forward. Lift from the top of the pelvis to the sternum, the breastbone. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Lift the heart. And take all of that together. Together? Let's take it together again. Pelvis and hips forward. Extend the torso. Squeeze the shoulder blades. Lift the heart. And then one more time might find you in enough of a back bend that it feels natural for the head to drop. If you have more space to work with and you won't dump it all into your low back, you are welcome to tuck the toes and draw one hand to the heel on the same side, floating the right arm nice and high. But you really got to press the pelvis forward to take all the energy out of your low back. And if you are taking this half camel, bring the right hand to your heart, then the left hand to your heart, and switch. Right hand to your right heel, and left arm high. One hand to your heart, preferably the raised hand. The opposite hand meets, and then use the belly to draw the shoulders over the hips. We'll come back to sitting on our heels today with our special guests. We want to get half pigeon into practice. We're going to sit back on our heels and take our little jaunt, sway, as if we're sitting in a beautiful lake or the shallow part of the ocean with very little waves to wash over us. Gliding the fingertips through the water. And we return to our seat. In our remaining 10 minutes, we will stay either seated or lying down on the mat. From our seat, we're actually going to start with, let's start with a butterfly pose, which I think is also called starfish. Yes, it's called starfish. Soles of the feet together, but there's a nice big diamond inside the legs. You might stay here. This might be perfect for you. As long as you're not turtling the head into the shoulders, your carapace of your spine, your back. Or you can sneak the wrists underneath the ankles, bring the palms to the tops of the feet or the tops of the ankles, and then use the leverage there with your elbows to reach the heart forward. Draw the belly in, the tailbone down, and then you can round the spine as if your head is a grain of sand dropping into the feet. For pearls of wisdom, oh boy, my dad would be so happy with that. Use a breath out to press back to a seat. Extend your left leg on the mat. Right foot either connected to the inside of the left thigh, or if it's hard to sit up straight that way, you might bring it to the calf. We're going to reach the arms in front, loosen that right hip, lock the arms into the shoulders, breathe in, exhale, shift forward from the hips. So it's like you're reaching to the front of the mat and you're not even worrying about how close anything gets to the left leg. Shift forward again on a breath out, and on the third breath, the hands can drop. Rise back to your seat. Shift onto that right hip so you can swing the left leg around behind you, preparing for your pigeon. You want the left leg extended straight out of the left hip. And if the right glutes are off the mat, something underneath them. I'm going to use my little red cushion. And the shoelace side of the left foot onto the earth. And you take a fold over your front shin. Now, if it's very difficult to get the forehead to the ground, make light fists of your hands and stack them. And place your forehead on the thumb and the index finger of the top fist. You might find over time, even with just something as low volume as 3 breaths, that if you bring the elbows forward, you can actually relax into the posture. Another fundamental building block of yoga is that the more we effort, often the more difficult things are, the more we're preventing ourselves from getting in the posture, and the likelier we are to injure ourselves. So we trust the body to guide us. We work toward removing or breathing into any fear. We might find a little bit more benefit, a little bit more merit from a given posture. Hands walk back toward the hips. We swing over onto the right hip. Set up for Janu Shirshasana on the other side. Right leg long, left leg bent with the knee splayed out to the right, left. Arms in front, lock them into the shoulders, breath in. Hinge forward, breath out. Inhale, hinge, exhale. One more time. And drop your hands. Lift yourself up. A shift on to the left hip to swing the right leg around for your pigeon on the other side. Being careful to set things up. Front shin is as parallel to the front of the mat as you can get it, but it does not have to be parallel. We settle in. I need a bigger block for the left side underneath my left glutes. So I'm not doing yoga prevention. Hands move back toward the hips once again. And this time, as you sit down onto the left hip, swing the right leg around for an upright Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together, sitting bones move toward the heels. We'll take a little twist over to the right. And over to the left. Return front and center, hands outside your knees to help them lift upright. Soles of the feet to the earth. And then rounded spine or straight spine, your choice. You're going to come all the way down to your back on the mat. Hug the knees in, give them a good squeeze. And then your choice, happy baby, legs up the wall, rock left and right. Flying Baddha Konasana. I'm going to take legs up the wall by drawing my hands underneath my low back, the sacrum, and extending the legs to the sky while pressing the back of the head to the earth. You gently find your way to your final resting posture. Maybe something under your knees or knees bent. Maybe you're seated, or maybe the legs are long on the back. Palms face upward wherever possible for receptivity. Return to your intention. Take a huge cleansing breath. Come back to the building blocks, this time effortless breath. Mindfulness of the body in space, its connection to the earth, its connection to consciousness. And the power of the practice to prepare you for being off the mat. Build the breath again, creating deep, deep breath that brings some movement back into the body, allowing the knees to bend so you can roll onto one side. And once on your side, the top hand helps you come back to a seat. Finding our comfortable seated posture, Utkatasana, easy pose. We press the palms together at the heart. And consider one thing that changed in that practice. Maybe you had a minuscule of a second of the mind freeing up from worry, or maybe you found a nice steady cadence of breath, or perhaps you delighted in one of the postures, or discovered that one part of your body is tighter or looser than you thought it might be. Let's celebrate the power of yoga, of the human mind, breath, and heart to bring all of that to bear. We'll do so with the sound of an Om. Finishing up our practice, breathe in as deeply as you can. Thumb knuckles meet the center of your forehead. May all beings be mindful. May they be aware. May they be unbiased. May they live with ease. We complete our practice. Bowing. Namaste. Thank you for spending time on your mat, for joining me, Karen, at Salt and Sand Studios, broadcast globally on YouTube. I hope you have a wonderful remainder of your day. And don't forget, there's lots of videos. In fact, there's probably more than 75 videos now that you can go back to or revisit or visit for the first time. And there's also classes live if you're here in Vermont. I would love to see you. There's even one this afternoon, which is Stretch and Sip at Featherbed Inn, if you would like to join us for gentle yoga, scones, and tea. Donate if you can, and otherwise, thanks from your heart and my heart.